All right. So anyway, this show, well, heck, we'll just start the show. Cool intro effects. So, Rochelle, this started off this show a year ago, maybe.
Yeah, a year ago, March.
And yeah, a year ago. I remember anniversaries. And of us just swapping episodes. One would be me interviewing Shannon, and the other would be Shannon interviewing me. We call it Extracted. And then we paused for a while after we turned 50, maybe out of weariness or something. And then I was like, dude, I know a lot of people who have good stories. We need to take this, we need to talk to other people. So,
Right.
And then I met you. And let's just do that. Let me set the scene, Rochelle. It's Fort Collins, Colorado, a sold-out Lincoln Center, 1,200 butts in the seats, awaiting some of the greatest stories that they've ever heard in their lifetime. And I'm telling myself one thing. Gosh, I hope I don't have to follow the world's first African-American female fighter pilot. I just don't, like everybody else, I think I can follow. I don't want to follow that. And I have to follow Rochelle Kimbrell, America's first African-American female fighter pilot. And I got to say, it kind of helped me a little bit because it raised the stakes. Like, there was no dawdling after your story.
Jared, it's Lieutenant Colonel Kimbrell, okay? Yeah. And first of all, it's so great to talk to you today. And it's an honor, and thank you for your service. I love the fact that you're from Parker, and just can't wait to get into this and hear more about your background and what gave you the ability to fly fighter pilots. Because when I think about that, I want to sit on the floor because I just can't do the heights.
I thought you meant like sit on the floor, crisscross applesauce, and listen to her story. Like that's what I want to do.
What I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Well, how are you right now? What's happening with you, Rochelle?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me on today. This is exciting and fun. It's a new venue. I haven't done many podcasts before. A couple little online things, but not really a podcast.
This will probably be your last. You'll be like, never again.
We'll see. I don't know. It could be one of those things where we're starting something new today.
Shannon, being as she is, she's a very generous and person who considers others' feelings, and she very graciously corrected what I think is what I was mispronouncing your last name. I was saying Rochelle Kimbrell, just I like how it rhymes, but is it Kimbrell?
Well, so my husband says it one way, and I say it the other way. It's his last name first, so he says Kimbrell, and I say Kimbrell.
Oh,
so
okay, well then Jared had it right.
I'm on Team Travis. That's it. That's so when I met you and I heard your story, all I could see in my head was a movie or a book. Like, is this in consideration at all?
Well, I mean, think of your life in a movie, right? All the ups and downs. You want that on a big screen. So, I mean, I've considered it. A lot of people have asked me that question, and I think it's definitely in consideration. There's a whole industry that goes towards movies and a separate industry that goes towards books. And, there's a lot of in and outs that go to all of those different things. And a lot of people say, start with the book so they could turn it into a movie. That takes a lot of vulnerability to tell your whole story from start to present.
Rochelle, we're your audience. Look how hungry we are. Look at how I'm like on the edge of my seat. And I already know your story,
Yeah. A sliver.
I know that's true. That's true. She's like, back off. All right. You already bought me 3 drinks. It's getting weird. No. So, where would you want the book to start? Where does it start? Does it start when you're a little girl in Parker, or does it start where you find love? And then we rewind.
I think and then you rewind. Oh, that's a great question. See,
or maybe you don't rewind. Maybe it's just flashbacks. I don't know.
See, and those are the things. It's like, that's a big daunting undertaking. Like, there were so many things that I don't think people like to read start to finish, but maybe some people do, right? So that goes back to your audience. Starting in an impactful place, and then how did you get there is always a good way to move into. So I don't know. That's probably why it hasn't happened yet.
In reading about you, I was struck that you had your pilot's license before you even had your driver's license, and that your dad gifted you a flight lesson for your 14th birthday, and that really was what ignited your passion to want to, go to the Air Force. And more importantly and impressively, you were accepted by both the U.S. Air Force Academy and the U.S. Naval Academy, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Huge. That's amazing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think, some of the sources, once stuff gets out there online, it kind of gets, messed up and all that. But I soloed an airplane before I had my driver's license. You actually can't have your pilot's license until you're 17. So,
Okay.
But I soloed before I had my driver's license. And yes, both the Air Force Academy and the Naval Academy. Actually got the Naval Academy nomination and acceptance package first, which almost led to a different course in life, because it's a beautiful campus, and I kind of wanted to go away from Colorado for college. But I had to come back to like, okay, what is my goal? What am I going after here? And just kind of the way my brain works and the way that I was reverse engineering things, I made the list, and I said, okay, what happens at the Air Force Academy? I'm closer to being able to get into pilot training. Yes, the Naval Academy has aviators as well. Their process is a little bit different. They have a different number, so I really just put that list down. Not knowing that there were ways to cross commission if you graduated from one. I didn't know all the details, right? So I just went after the goal, and ended up at the Air Force Academy because I wanted to stay focused on flying fighters.
Wow.
So who was this kid before she got all these offers? I mean, you sound like you might have been a bit intimidating.
Yeah, I had a much rougher shell when I was growing up. I was all about business and didn't take any stuff from anybody. Was very driven and laser focused. Man, I was laser focused on what does it take. Once I figured out this is what I wanted to do, that I wanted to fly jets, that I wanted to fly fighters, and the only place that you could do that was in the military. It became my mission, and it was even, it was well before when I made the decision to go do it, was well before women were allowed to fly fighters. They weren't allowed to go to combat. They weren't allowed to do those things. So as a little girl, I got told no often that I was crazy, that was, what are you thinking? You can't do that.
That's like a magic pill. Every time you tell this little girl she's crazy, she works even harder. Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, yep. So that was me. I was into everything. I'm a huge animal fanatic. I love my animals. I showed horses. I showed dogs.
Wow.
And I just, and to this day, I love animals, which is what got me into falconry at the Air Force Academy. I got to
say, I also read that you participate in the falconry at the Air Force Academy. I had been down at the Broadmoor and seen a demonstration that they did, and I don't think a lot of people realize that there's so much down in the Springs with falcons, and just kind of, I think, the representation of that bird.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. Yeah, I only knew a tiny sliver. More slivers, please. Straight into my eyes. Oh, so are you out there with a big glove driving a bird around?
Yeah, so we have, gosh, I don't know how many we have right now, 12 or 13 falcons.
That's insane.
So when I was a cadet, there, so only 4 cadets per class year make the team. And you try out your freshman year, and you do it for the 4 years while you're there. So it's a very unique club. It's one of the best kept secrets at the Air Force Academy that I just blasted out to the whole audience. So, if you're going to go there as a cadet, you should try out for that team. It's phenomenal. Yeah. And so we fly them at the football games. Right? Yeah. So we fly them at the halftime shows. So we train them, we take care of them, we feed, all the things down there. And I still volunteer with them today. So if you guys want to come down to Springs and come check out the falcons, I'd be happy to show you.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, you know what? Actually, Rochelle, I do stories for a news network, and I could come down there and do story on your falconry.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do a story on the cadets down there.
I don't know how to break dance, but I feel like doing it right now. I feel like popping and locking. So you, you're this little girl. You're super driven. At what point were people like, okay, she's doing this? Like, just stop dissuading. She's gonna lock herself into a cockpit.
I don't know. I don't know what other people were thinking. Wasn't really focused on what other people were thinking.
Boom. That is the secret to life right there. Thank you. The podcast get in now and we've done our work. Anyway, yeah.
You know,
what does that feel like?
Big
not
fan
hearing?
club. It wasn't like everybody was like, "Oh, go, you could make it." There was none of that. It was just, this is what I'm doing, and you know, I thank my parents because they didn't put their fears out there, right? Their fears of like, "Oh, that's going to be hard. Oh, you're not going to be," you know, "I'm scared for you. I don't like to fly," you know, all the things. Like they didn't manifest any of that, right? It was, we don't know how to do it, but you go do it. Make it happen, you know? We'll support you in any way we can, but we don't know the path. So go forth and conquer. that was kind of it.
Well, that's interesting because no one knew the path. I mean, from what I'm imagining your perspective, because women hadn't been able to fly. I mean, and you being the first African-American female pilot, like, you are the path.
Right.
How many cadets were in your graduating class?
1,100 of us. It was not a lot. I mean, if I would have prepped better, I have the number somewhere, but
I'm not trying to quiz you, I promise.
You know, there were like 8 to 10 of us Black females.
Wow.
In that class, and there were probably 12% women, 15% women at that time, maybe. Don't quote me on that one.
And then, what is it like pulling, 9 Gs or however many Gs as you're flying these billion-dollar machines up in the sky, and how are you not scared like I am just hearing about it?
I mean, it's pretty intense. You're physically fit at the time. You know, you're going to the gym, you're working out. You know that's part of the, strength and core strength and leg strength is key to being able to stay awake when you're pulling Gs. But I mean, it's the more that you do it, the less it, like anything, the more you do it, the less it hurts. But you also have a lot of tasks. So, you're typically, when you're pulling 9 Gs, you're fighting another airplane, simulated fighting another airplane. Well, you are fighting another airplane, but you're just not shooting live missiles, right? So you're actually dogfighting. And so you're busy. So you don't really have time to, worry about your moans and groans and your little pains. You're trying to keep visual on somebody, get them into a certain targeting solution so that you can then win the fight. Right. And so I think that because you're doing so many different things that you're not focused on like, oh, this hurts. Right.
Or like, how high I am and how fast I'm.
I think you just described parenting, I think. I love the story about getting tested for the G test. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, the centrifuge.
The centrifuge. Oh. Yeah, you're being whirled around in the world's most horrifying carnival ride. And this is insane. I mean, how many, it was you and what, 10 other people?
Yep. Me and my 9 classmates, so there was 10 of us. And I was 4th in line, and the first 3 guys passed out.
Oh my gosh.
They G-locked. It happened, which was terrifying to watch because I know we'd all been in the gym. Like I know how much we'd all been working out and how much weight they were able to pump versus how much weight I was able to pump, and all the things. And, so it all goes into the psyche of like, holy cow, like, how is he not, how did he pass out? Right. How did he G-lock? But then being able to go in there and on the first try get through it was awesome. It was a victory in my mind. I celebrated, inside here. Yay!
Go celebrate with a run, with a 20-mile run.
No, I'm not I'm a sprinter, not a runner.
Well, talk about that. I want to know the mind frame of someone who's 4th in line and the first 3 people have passed out.
The mindset is, I'm going to do this. Like I'm going to be the first one. Like that's the mindset. This is not going to get me just because it got them. It's not going to get me. I'm not going down like that. That's And it wasn't the end of training for them. They just had to come back and do it the next day. And I didn't want to come back and do it the next day. I wanted to do one and done and move along.
See, in the movie, this is where we'd flash back to somebody doubting you when you're like 9. Go play with pixie sticks, Kimbrell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. Motor skills. Fine motor skills. Pixie sticks.
Oh yeah. See, boom.
So
Gosh.
I was like, I'll go play with pixie sticks. It's fine. It's good fine motor skills.
As a kid, did you like to ride roller coasters and do kind of like thrill-seeking things? I'm just trying to get in your mind because I am so not like this, and I'm so fascinated by you. I just wonder, like, are you one of those people that can do roller coasters and loves it and laughs the whole time and thinks it's great?
Yeah, I do love roller coasters. I do think they're great. When I was, I don't know how old I was, probably in 8th or 9th grade. No, I guess I was a junior. I was a junior in high school and got to go train with the PJs, which is the pararescue guys in the Air Force, as a Civil Air Patrol cadet. And we got to rappel down the rock face Aussie style, which is going face first, and you run down the mat like you see it in.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah, I want to get you a Red Bull. Okay.
Yeah, so it's crazy. Like that was pretty exhilarating. But I mean, I like to do stuff like that. I didn't do all of the things. That was pretty scary at the time. Because you actually have to put your head below your feet before you can take the first step down.
What?
Right, and then the faster you go, the easier it is, but it doesn't feel like that.
Girl.
So that's pretty fun. I mean, I like to challenge myself and do stuff like that. And I think that I probably terrified my mom way more than she let on. Yeah, she didn't let me know that she was when I stopped flying, she was like F-16. She didn't have to go back to combat, didn't have to go to do those things. She was like, "Oh, I'm so relieved." I'm like, "You are? You're relieved?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Yes." Which, as a mom, I get it now. But
oh yeah. I mean, it's hard not to get in the way of your kids doing their dreams, because if you don't understand them or if they seem dangerous, you're just like, yeah, let me go ahead and rope that cordon off that area.
Why don't we just put you in the bubble? We'll roll you down
Yeah.
the street. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So I mean, I like to give them big kudos, because we as parents can definitely, inadvertently stop progress because of love, or because of, like, oh, I'm taking care of you, So that's an interesting thing. It's an interesting dynamic now as a mom to be able to see that.
Yeah, your mom is probably thrilled that you were able to tell her that you understand what you did to her.
Yes, exactly.
One of the other things I wanted to highlight as I was reading your Wikipedia page, and again, I know some things on the internet get a little skewed, but I understand that you served as a member of the 78th Attack Squadron, as well as the MQ-9 pilot and mission commander. Is that accurate?
Yep.
And I imagine that had to be like a very kind of stressful time being in combat, and just the mindset of someone like yourself who's going and flying in these dangerous missions. And what kind of things do you tell yourself when things get intense or stressful?
So I'll just say, so the 78th and the MQ-9s, those are actually the RPAs, which are the remotely piloted airplanes. So those are the ones where we were in Vegas doing war overseas.
Oh, wow.
So different than being, your butt in the seat in the airplane with the people shooting at you right there. Which I've done that too, right, in the F-16. So the mindset is really, you've got a mission to do. You have the training, you have the tools, and you're going to go accomplish your mission, right? Everybody's going to go out and everybody's going to come back home. So you're going to protect each other. You're going to go get your mission done, bombs on target, on time, and turn around and come home and protect the package, right? That's the mindset, and that's really the only mindset.
That's what I just, the leap from training to a combat mission in Iraq, in my mind, seems infinite. But with what you're saying there, you've had your training, you've got to know it's going to work.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you realize it the first time that you go, and you realize, and then you build the confidence, right? You're like, oh yeah, I'm prepared. Like you don't know until the first time that you go into a combat zone or into theater. You feel prepared, but there is still a little bit of anxiety on the inside going, okay, well, I hope this is what they say. But then when you go and you do the mission, you're prepared, you're prepared for the contingencies. You've talked about it, you've practiced it, you've flown it, you've simulated it, you've, sat in your chair and chair flew it in your mind. You've done, multiple scenarios. Does it always go exactly as planned? It never goes exactly, right? But that's when you pivot. You pivot. We always talk contingencies. We always talk, what if this, what if that? Obviously, you can't always get it right, but you've done it so many times that you know what you're looking, and the safe ways out, and that because you prepare, you mission plan, where the threats are, all the things. So it's not just like you walk out, it's not like the movies where you just kind of walk out to the jet and you get in and you're like, oh, we're going to go do some stuff, right? There's a lot of preparation that goes into it, into every mission, into every flight. And we talk about all the things that go right and wrong on every flight so that you can expand that knowledge for the next, set of flights that you're going to do.
When you were in, fighter pilot school, what was it like your very first time climbing up and getting into an F-16?
Oh my gosh! So it was. So there's the first time that I got in, and I was in the back seat. I was doing a sandbag ride before I started my training, right? And I will tell you, I think back to just how much I learned, how unprepared I was for the journey, how, I just, there's second and third generation fighter pilots in my class. They had these war stories at the dinner table. They knew all the weapons of the F-16 can carry, all the weapons the enemy could carry. They knew it all, like before I had no idea. I had to study all that stuff. I had to figure it out. I had to learn it. I had to, really ingrain it into my mind. I had to take what was on paper and then turn it into, the three-dimensional tactics that we do. And it was a lot. Like I look back now and I'm like, wow, because I think about the first time that I went in the back seat, not flying, I was just watching the mission. And we were doing air combat maneuvers. So we were doing a two versus one, right? And we started the fight, and there's a certain setup that we do, and they do their brake turn and they shoot out their flares. And I had read about flares, but I had never seen flares, right? And I'm thinking that the airplane's on fire. And I'm thinking they're going to knock this off and they're going to be like, whoa, something happened. I know better than to say anything sitting in the back seat, because I'm sure that the people up front would know, right? But I chuckle at myself just knowing that this is an everyday thing that we do when we go out and fight, and we dispense our chaff and flares and what that looks like. And I had no idea. I had read about it. I knew I had talked about it. I had briefed it. I had said it out loud, but I had never done it, right? And I'd never seen it up close and personal. So I know, the first time when you get to the F-16, so you already have your pilot wings, and then you get to the F-16, you do some simulators, and you only do a couple of rides with somebody else in the airplane, and then they let you take it off solo. And that was awesome. Like, you're like, they are going to actually let me get in this by myself, and we're going to go do a mission today. I'm going to go be number 2, and I'm going to be in here all by myself. Like this, that is not something that you ever forget.
Wow. I just can't imagine. I'm just so fascinated and impressed. You're such a badass that there's a bronze statue of you as part of the Women's Legacy Memorial that I understand stands alongside a World War II statue of Rosie the Riveter outside of a courthouse in your hometown. And
oh, wow.
I bet your sons must just think that their mom is the most badass, coolest mom on the planet. And I would agree with them for that.
That's amazing. And where is this statue? What town?
It's in Kokomo, Indiana.
Okay.
So I was born in Lafayette, which is just down the street.
Yeah.
And yes, and they put up this it's still surreal,
Yeah.
It's very strange to have statue
bronze statue of
of yourself somewhere. But but we went to the unveiling, and my boys got to see that. So I was happy that they got to see that.
Oh, that's every parent's dream. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, has there ever been a time where like the family's in the car and like your husband's like, honey, you're driving 120? You know, like we're just going to the store.
Maybe.
Relax, we're on the ground, okay?
It's not so much the speed. I can't own a sports car. We'll just put that out there.
Yeah.
Because I would drive it like a sports car, and then I wouldn't have a license, and then we wouldn't go anywhere. So yeah, I don't have a speed demon car. But I drive very safely. I'll just tell you that. Like, I have awareness because of flying. I think I have awareness of all that's around me. And if it's congested and crazy, then we just take it slow. But if there's open road,
yeah,
all bets are off.
Mama's got to get a thrill. Buckle up, kids.
Exactly.
And what was your do they call it like your, because like every pilot has a nickname, or there's a term for it, and I'm not even thinking of
like a handle or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
call sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's why we bring on the experts.
Yeah.
Yes, my call sign was Lex.
Okay.
LAX.
I have seen that online. I was like, wait, who is Lex? Like what?
But we're not going to tell that story on the radio.
Okay.
Okay.
That's fair. You just have to be a very tough person, I would imagine, to go through that and graduate and then go on to become, a fighter pilot. And I got bullied out of 7th grade. So I am so curious about what, you would tell yourself maybe on days when your colleagues weren't being nice, or, people were saying crap things, and how you kind of self-talked yourself past those sort of things.
So I would tell you that I think that Jared was right, that I was pretty intimidating when I was younger. People didn't really mess with me that much. Right. I was very fit. So the training that we would do was not, it was tiring, but it wasn't over the top. It was like a really hard workout, Mm-hmm. And I think I was prepared, right? So that you're going to walk into situations that you may not know the whole dynamic. It wasn't like, it wasn't like Full Metal Jacket. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like mm-hmm. It was, so you're going to go do hard things. You're going to prepare to do hard things, right? So you're going to work out as much as you can. You're going to get strong. You're going to get mentally tough. Like nobody can break down your mind but you, right? So people can tell you things, they can call you things, but you don't know me. Like that was the mindset. You don't know me. Like you can call me whatever you want. That's not going to stop me. That's not going to, stop me from moving through this obstacle onto the next one. Like there's all kinds of people in this world, and I've seen a lot of them, and, they're going to go do their thing, and that's not going to prevent me from doing mine. If you're going to stand in my way and I can't move you, then I'll go around you. It's not, and that's always been my mindset.
Rochelle's locking in right now. Everybody, hang on. You're going to put that mask on.
Yeah. Are you going to fail? Are you going to not meet the bar for some tasks? Absolutely. But then what do? You go back, you retrain, you figure it out, and you go back and you try it again. Like they are not, nobody is the boss of you. And if there's one path that is absolutely blocked, there's another path. So you take it to your exhaustive end. And my mindset was really just, I'm going to go out and do the best that I can do every day. When I'm going down this journey, I'm going to go and do the best that I can do. I'm going to perform to the best of my ability. Am I going to have off days? Of course. And, did I fail rides in pilot training? Of course. Right. But you have to pick yourself back up. That's just one setback. What did you learn from it? Right? You're going to fail. What did you learn from it? How can you do better? How can you prepare? And then go attack it again. And then at the end of the day, I knew that there was a possibility that I would wash out of pilot training. I knew there was a possibility that, I'd wash out of our basic course for F-16. Like I knew that all of these things, introduction to fighter fundamentals when we flew the AT-38 was a high washout rate. Lots of people went there and didn't make it through. But was I going to worry about that, or was I going to go and do my best? Right. And so that was the mindset. Like, I can't, if I do the best that I can and I don't make the bar and I wash out, well, then that's what happens. And then we see if there's another path. If there's not, then maybe we figure something else out. But I'm not going to spend time figuring something else out when I need to spend time preparing for the task at hand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you can't be thinking about detours before you even get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you still fly not for fun, I guess, but just occasionally? Do you ever?
I do. I'm an instructor at the Aero Club at the Academy.
Okay.
It's something I do. Just I don't. It's not a full-time thing. I just have a couple students, and I take.
Yeah, are you the platinum package? Like yeah, we have the silver down here. We have this middle-aged white guy who has a Cessna, or
if you have great grades,
yeah, exactly.
you can go up with the rock.
If you can run face first down that hill, however that happens,
with falcons attached to both arms. Oh my gosh! Now, do your boys also want to follow some of the footsteps that their mom has, or get into, the Air Force or the military?
No, not at this time. So I've got my 18-year-old Cade is he thinks he wants to do cybersecurity, so he's a freshman in college.
That's what I do.
That's what Shannon does. She works for the government.
Oh,
yeah.
Don't tell everybody.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have to talk about that. Yeah, so he thinks he wants to do that. So he's in his second semester, really kind of third semester of that. And then Jacob, my 14-year-old, he's not sure yet. We are entrepreneurs now. We have been told what to do for a long time in our lives, and we're pretty much over that. So
Yeah.
we run our own businesses, and he doesn't want to work for anybody. So we have to get strong entrepreneurial skills, taught to him so that he can come up on that, because he thinks we don't do anything now. He's like, oh, but you don't do anything. Life is easy. I don't want to go to school. You don't do anything. I'm like, okay, well.
I get to say I work from home, so my kid's like, I don't know, he just goes to the basement and sweats. So we'll just do that.
Exactly, right? So you know what that looks like, right? They think you don't do anything. So we're working through some of that. I haven't taken him flying yet. I was thinking about doing that this week on spring break.
Wow.
My oldest gets motion sick.
That would be me. Yeah.
Pretty hardcore.
Oof.
So I haven't taken him flying, but my buddy has, and and he had a rough time on that, but it was good. But he tried. He said he'd go back up with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, and you had mentioned when you were 14, you had joined the Civil Air Patrol, and I mean, when I was 14, I think I was watching Top Gun and Dirty Dancing, but never thinking like, oh, there's this organization I could go join and learn how to fly. What was that like, being 14? And I imagine being with a lot of grown men, maybe some women as well, and kind of getting your foundation set for becoming a pilot.
So CAP is an awesome organization, and it is a youth-based. So there's a youth-based piece of it, a cadet program, and then you've got the senior members who are just supervisory. They do some of the leadership, but it's really a cadet-led type of environment. And I thought I was going to get into that to take advantage of the flying and the stuff, but it ended up being a real leadership lab for me. And we ended up standing up a squadron in Parker. I ended up commanding that squadron. I ended up commanding the state's drill team and going to nationals. It was just fun. Like, it was really, it was really a good time. It's like ROTC on steroids, or JROTC on steroids, as a young person. I mean, I wasn't in JROTC, so I can't say that one's more intensive than the other, but I was there a lot. We spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time with that group of people, and it was a lot of fun. And, it was a lot of leadership. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about leading peers and that type of stuff. And so it was a great a great organization. I didn't end up doing all of the flying that I thought that I was going to do through there. I did that on the side. And then when I got out of the military, when I retired, or just before I retired, I joined again as a senior member. So I still fly, and now I do all the flying stuff. So now I do the search and rescue, because it's also a search and rescue, or not just search and rescue, but we have missions that we do. So we do both search and rescue here in Colorado. We do that a bit because people get lost hiking and that type of stuff. We do disaster, whatever the word is. It's escaping me right now, but like we'll go take pictures of the disasters, like after hurricanes, after floods, after all of that stuff. So we're not doing the relief, but we're doing the surveillance. There's the word. I'm like, disaster surveillance, and kind of, here's the expanse of the damage that was done. Here's pictures. Here's all that stuff. So we do a lot of stuff, and then we fly cadets. We teach them. All the cadets get 5 orientation flights. So I do orientation flights for the cadets, and then there's opportunities for kids to get their license through CAP too. So like I've been out to Indiana a couple times to teach at their training course there. So I still fly, and I still do that stuff with the cadets. It's a great organization. I love it.
Well, I just think from a representation standpoint, I mean, you're just a bolt of lightning in some kids' lives, I'm imagining.
And that was something that I realized, which is what allows me to come and do stuff like this, and to do some motivational and public speaking, is because the representation is key. And I didn't understand the impact that it had until the first time I talked to a group of high schoolers, and I just really saw light bulbs come on in their eye. They're like, oh, I could do something other than, go be a waitress, or go be a barista, or go, whatever they had seen in their life. This was something different, and it just opened up their aperture to say, maybe that wasn't even that they wanted to come fly fighters, but they just realized they could do so much more. They were limiting themselves. And that was really powerful to me. And that was a long time ago that I went and talked to my first set of high schoolers, and it was kind of a big pill to swallow, because then you realize that you are, that people are watching you, people are looking up to you. And I was like, man, I've made a lot of mistakes. Hope they don't find out about those, right?
Yeah. That's like when your kids start growing up and realizing maybe you're not the hero that they thought you were.
Exactly. You're like, I did not do it all right. Like, I will be the first person to tell you I did not do it all right. I did the best that I could, but I did not do it all right. And so that was kind of a scary moment for me, when I realized that people were now looking at me and like, oh, I want to learn from, and I was like, ooh, I have to come at this at a different approach, because that's when I started to soften, and I wasn't such it was a little bit less of a force to be reckoned with in a different way.
Yeah, in a different way, though. I think maybe as powerful, if not more so. I don't know. This is a really terrible, terrible metaphor, but dropping bombs of inspiration. I mean, like, this is positivity that's emanating outward here. I'll leave the room now. I just feel weird.
That was great, actually. That was a great
Good.
metaphor.
Scud missiles of motivation
Yeah.
and dropping bombs of positivity.
Okay, so here we are at the point of the movie. Lex has landed, and there's some discovery she needs to make. And when I saw your story, this was largely what this was about. Like, is you like, okay, I kicked ass in that portion of life. The jet has landed, and I kind of need to love somebody. And was your husband in the military too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was, yeah.
Because you paint that picture. Sorry to interrupt, but you paint that picture of those other pilots like hugging people. They're coming home, and they got somebody greeting him, and then that is such a stark painting of you, like, oh damn.
Yeah, no, it was kind of like a moment in time, because I did my first deployment, and I came home, and it was no big deal. And then the second time that I went and I came back, that's when it kind of, because now I knew the people a little bit better. I knew their families, like it wasn't, and I knew their kids, and because we'd been a squadron for a little bit, for almost 2 years now. And then I go on my next deployment, and I come home, and their whole family is out on the tarmac. They land their jet, the whole family's out on the tarmac, the kids are running up, Daddy, wives are running over, giving big kisses and hugs. And, I grab my bags and I go pick up my cat. I go, my friend was keeping my cat and I go, I'm like, all right, go get my cat. And I, go back. And then I just, and then I sat in that, like that day, I sat in that and it was kind of like, this is like, if you're going to do all of these things and you're going to achieve your dreams and your goals, like, don't you want to share that with somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't you want to be able to come and be like, yeah, it was an awesome day. We did this, or this. Oh man, today was rough. Like, and I mean, he was an amazing Japanese cat, but, he was not my person. So yeah, it was a very blatant kind of smack when I came back. It was like, wow, like I'm missing out on a whole portion of life over here. I'm doing my own thing, which is great, but if you're not sharing it with somebody or sharing it out loud, this is why all of our stories are so important, right? Because we have to pass them on as humans to other people to have impact. And I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to have some sort of impact, right? And if you just keep it all to yourself and go home and be a hermit and a crazy cat lady, then, we've heard a little bit of that recently.
And rest in peace, wonderful Japanese cat. You meant a lot to her. So how did this go down? Was Travis like changing some F-16 oil and you just went over there and said, dude?
He tells the story much better. You can have him on the show next time. He was an engine mechanic.
Yeah.
So he was out there on the flight line and he went on that second deployment with us. And, I was oblivious. I was doing my thing, and I didn't realize that when I would step out to my jet when we were deployed, like it was him and Mike, this other guy, that were always at my jet. Like there were less of us. When you deploy, you don't take everybody, right? And they were always at my and I just didn't think anything of it. Come to find out years later, that was planned. So
well done, sir. Well done.
Man with a plan on a mission. So.
Yeah. You turned out to be the mission. How ironic.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Exactly. It is ironic. So
he's taking motivational tips from you over drinks. Like, so what do I need to do? I got to focus and do what? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you need to finish that math class. And he's like, I hate math. I'm like, doesn't matter. You got to do it anyway.
You want to date me? You better know trigonometry. Oh, that's awesome.
I love it. Yeah, I read that he asked you to go to sushi, and that was your first date.
Yes, he did. Well, it was our first date, but not when I said. So me doing my thing, he asked me when we were out on the flight line in the desert. He's like, oh yeah, you want to do sushi? And I ate sushi every day in Japan, like for at least 2 meals. At least one, but most of the times 2, right? So I was like, yes, as soon as I land, I'm going to go pick up my cat and then I'm going to go to sushi. Right? I was like, so you're more than welcome to, I didn't think of it as like, oh, we're going to go on a date. I was like, yeah, I'm going to sushi. If you want to come sit with me and eat sushi, then have at it. And I saw him when we got off the plane and I was getting in my car and I was like, I'm going. You coming? He was like, right now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going right now. And he's like, oh, I can't. I'm like, all right, see ya. So I went and did what I said I was going to do. And then later we had sushi. So he didn't know how serious I was about what I was doing.
Yeah. Which is good. That's good. Keep it casual.
Exactly. Oh, I love it. What an amazing story. And especially the meeting your husband and falling in love and getting married. I just am so fascinated by your career and what you've accomplished, and this has just been the highlight of my week to talk to you. And I just think, gosh, if I would have had that kind of mindset as a kid, like where I might be today.
Well, you can have that mindset anytime, right?
You're right. Right?
That's absolutely. It's never too late.
Drop and give me 20.
Yes. Yeah, we are. It'll be our 20-year anniversary this June. So
congrats.
What date in June?
The 11th.
Oh, okay, my wife and I are the 22nd. We're just a little bit ahead of you. It's our hold on, think, Jared, 23rd.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
congratulations. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I mean, especially I look around the charred remains of my many friends' relationships. I'm like, whoa, Sarah, I don't know what we're doing, but
yeah, it's a phase in life that people are going through right now. I feel like,
yeah,
I'm like, okay,
marriage
is just like anything else, man. It's not easy, and if you want it to work, then you got to work it.
Well, for the not easy part, I'll have to get my wife down here. Sarah, could you talk about how you've survived? But yeah, it is, yeah. I am really going to come to your house and do a story on falconry.
Okay.
And then will we go out with some other falconers or?
Yeah. It would be more on them. Not
okay.
me.
Yeah.
I can just get you in the room, like, cause the cadets are in it. They're like, I just volunteer with them now. Like, I'm just
I know, but I'm not gonna like bug you about F-16s the whole time, but I just think you're a good connection to this.
Yeah, no, the cadets are amazing. They just selected their next 4 freshmen for this year that are going to be on the team for the next time. So the team's full. They'll start flying them again here after spring break. So anytime, let me know.
You have falcons in your backyard, right? You have some like falcons in your backyard right now, or in your the basement.
Probably some hawks in the trees, but not mine. So we like them. We have some owls and some other.
I love owls.
Oh, owls are. We have an owl that lives near us, and when you see an owl, it's life changing. I don't know why, but they just pull your soul right out of you, and then whoo, and I'm like, which is funny to me. That's the noise this most remarkable creature makes, but interrogating me about who I am. That's what I feel. I'm like, who are you? Yeah, I've got issues. I don't know exactly what I'm doing right now. But yeah, just awesome.
Yes. Well, wait till you see the falcons up close and personal. You will, you'll love it.
Can we promote something you're doing right now, or outside of the movie you'll be making?
Outside of the book and the movie? No, I just, as far as promoting, if people are serious about, change and they want to learn about success in their life, then I do coach and mentor and put together teams of people who want to not do the 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that my husband and I do as a business. And then I also speak, for corporations and organizations who want to talk about, success, who want to learn, what diversity, equity, and inclusion can look like for their team to actually, pull it towards a mission, because it is not what it is cracked up to be these days. If people are thinking it's a quota, then they miss the boat, right? And they're missing what their team could accomplish if they were to understand the principles that are actually part of that.
Well, I apologize because it's just a new way to be racist, always thinking in new ways. And it's what DEI was expanding that scope so that you hired actual competent people. And they've tried to flip it. I'm going to work my butt off to say what it really is and how it has made this country much better. And you are not the superior of anything if you're deleting the stories of other people to make yourself feel that way.
Right.
You just scared little people.
It's a crazy era that we're living in right now, and it's not, we've put verbiage to it of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but, really it's like you're talking about, it's meritocracy. It is, let the best person get the job regardless of who they are, what they look like, or what they're, all the things, socioeconomic status, race, gender, all the stuff, right? Let the best person get the job. Let them do it. Let them be part of the mission that we're trying to talk about. And here's ways that you can do it. So I work corporations and businesses through that in a very nonsensical manner.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why America's military, despite whatever, there's always been for, centuries, the jokes about bumbling bureaucracy and stuff. But it's why we're great is because it is a meritocracy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so those are a couple of the other things that I'm doing. But yeah, people are, I am putting together teams of people who are serious about changing their lives, who want to learn how to dream build, how to expand their knowledge on success, and then how to put that into action.
Do you have a website you could promote for that business?
So, RochelleKimbrell.com is where my speaking stuff is, and that's how people can get a hold of me. And then I dovetail off of that to the coaching and mentorship.
Great.
Of the other stuff.
We'll make sure to get a
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, it's in there. As a matter of fact, I'll just hold my hands, and this is where it'll exist. I'm going to carry it around. I'm going to put it on Rochelle like a Flavor Flav.
I will text you those two, KimbrellEnterprise.com and RochelleKimbrell.com.
Okay.
Are my two. So yeah, I do have a bunch of products that I rep and stuff like that, but
nice.
It's all on there.
Great.
All right, Rochelle. I'm gonna get in touch with you, and then of course you got a cybersecurity connection right here.
We'll talk.
Yes, please. I'd
love to help your son however I can.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know, and can't be afraid to say it. And I know nothing about cybersecurity. I know it's important, and that's all I know.
Yeah, I'm likely getting hacked right now. I do not know. If your spidey senses are tingling, let me know. I'll turn off the Wi-Fi.
I know that both of you are smart enough not to use Signal to text your plans and copy in an editor of.
Oh, I thought that meant it was okay.
It's the DUI hires that are the problem.